Hi, my name is Lily Stevens, and I've been teaching for 15 years now. Recently, I had an experience where my colleague was not at school and she had a sub, and the sub was a former teacher, but she had quit teaching before the pandemic started. And as you teachers out there may or may not know, things changed a lot after the pandemic. Sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad ways. I think we are all still recovering 5 years later, especially in the academic world. But the world is also changing. So would that change have happened anyway? Possibly, maybe in a different way. I can't say. Anywho, so my colleague was out, my next door neighbor, and the sub comes into my classroom and says, I have a kid who's super defiant. I need help. It's like, okay. So I don't know any of my colleagues' students. This was either a ninth grader or 11th grader. I don't remember. And I work at a lower socioeconomic school. So I know students have tough backgrounds. They might have parents or other family members who take care of them, or even friends. Their family members might work multiple jobs. The student might be asked to help bring in some money or take care of their siblings. Their families might not be the best at raising them. There might be a little bit of violence or rough talking at home. And so you just really don't know what you're going to get with each student, which is true in every place. But at my school, you know, this is the background that I'm telling you about. So I see this student, and the student's already like upset, um, because he was called out. And so my strategy with most students when they're upset is to ask them if they're hungry or tired. 99% of the time, that is the issue. When I'm dealing with upperclassmen, I usually I'll just ask, hey, what's going on? Why are you giving this sub attitude? And sometimes the students say, I don't know. Sometimes they just shrug. Sometimes they feel like they've been disrespected. I don't quite remember what this student said, but he did say that he wanted to go back in and read. He was choosing not to read. That was the thing. And students are very tricky with reading, so maybe I'll make another video on why I personally don't do like a drop everything and read or, the silent reading days anymore. And that's because students are very clever about them. And so I said, hey, there's 20 minutes left in class. Do you think that you can read your book? And he said, okay. Now, there's two things here. I could choose to disbelieve the student because although he knew I worked there and taught next door, I have no rapport with him. I know nothing about him. He lied about his name earlier in the class period, according to the sub. And so there's two strategies right now. I could have given him the look and say, why should I believe you? And challenge the student. I chose not to do that because that can escalate it, and I don't know the student's background at all. And maybe he was just seeing if he could get a rise out of me. And so when he said, I'd like to go back in and read, I said, okay, I will trust you to do that. And that might have been naive. Maybe he didn't read, and that's up to him. That's on him. I chose that technique because I didn't want to escalate the situation. It was the end of the school year. And because maybe the student hadn't experienced trust before in his life. And so maybe I was made to look the fool. But maybe that student will also remember, hey, at one point someone trusted me, and that could make a big difference. It really depends on your teaching persona, how you deal with defiant students. I also said, hey, can you please apologize to the sub? She's a former teacher and a guest in our school, and we want to show her the right Coco spirit. And and he said he would. I did check in with the sub later, and he did not. Luckily, another student did apologize for his behavior, and that wasn't the student's responsibility, but it was still nice. So that's something that teachers do as well, is we try to instill respect in our students. We want students to show the community, and that includes substitute teachers, that they want to be here and that we are there to help them and show the community that we are a good school. We instill positive, respectful, cultural expectations. This student could have been having an off day. Maybe his sense of humor was misconstrued. I don't know. I subbed a long time ago. So Although I do sub for other teachers on their prep on my prep hour sometimes when that's necessary. But it really just depends on you. How do you deal with defiant students, especially if you don't know them very well? Personally, I choose not to escalate situations and make it more of a conversation, what's going on. If the student were my student, I would probably ask what's going on and then say, are you hungry or tired? And if they're hungry, I always have snacks in my classroom because I don't believe students can work unless they're not starving, right? Sometimes there has been an issue with their friend group, and I tell them, you don't have to tell me details. Just tell me the gist of what's going on. What's the situation? Sometimes they just need to step out of the classroom and walk around and get a breather that can help wake them up. Or they don't want to sit in their seat, or they want to sit in a different location. Um, so it really just depends. And I think when the students see that you're working with them so that they can have the best academic experience or even like social and emotional experience in your classroom, they're willing to do more work for you and to care about the skills that you're trying to teach them. So those are my strategies for dealing with a defiant student, especially one that you don't know very well, but also one of your own. Please let me know in the comments below how you deal with defiant students or if there's a specific situation that you would like me to address in a future video. And if you liked this video, please like and subscribe.